So, officially welcome to our career webinars. This is another episode of our Career Readiness Essential series. This is a series specially designed for you to get to know the latest developments in career development, knowledge, skills you need to have to be ready for your career. What we call to be career ready, right? And as we always need to be updating, keep on learning, upskilling, reskilling, this is very nice because this is an opportunity for you to make sure that you are always working right in the right subjects for your career. So for those who maybe don't know, but those who do know, our topic for today is building healthy habits for career success in 2026. And this is a topic I am very passionate about. And this is why today I'm the speaker, right? And what are we going to discuss today? Well, basically, something that is very important in a career development is basically what we do, right? This may seem obvious, but it's not that obvious because our daily actions need to be, first of all, there, right? We need to work towards that thing we want. But the tricky thing is that to become the professional we want, not only we need to make sure we are taking the right steps, but we also need to make sure that the system we have to achieve our goals is working, right? And that's what our webinar is about. It's about how we can build habits, how we can take action that is going to move in the direction we want in our careers, right? And about me, for those who are joining for the first time, my name is Mirta Aguirre. I'm a career and personal development coach. I am passionate about education. I am passionate about expanding ourselves, and I truly believe that the more we know ourselves, the more we can align what we do, what we think, and what we feel with the kind of life and career we want. And when we can find this alignment, then things can work much, much better. What do you think about that? Do you agree that when we are a bit aligned, things can be a little bit easier, right? So for that, I am very happy to be here being a speaker for today. And so, first of all, guys, I want to know, has anyone read this book? Our webinar is based on this amazing book because when I read it, it completely changed the way I approach habit building and development. Let me know. If you didn't, if you haven't read it, just say no. I would like to know who of you have heard, or maybe if you heard about the book, just write heard. Amazing. This is a great book. It's relatively new, and it's an interesting way of understanding how we can develop habits. And today's idea is to understand how developing healthy habits can help us in a career. Amazing. So some of you have heard about the book but have not read it. So, well, maybe after our session, you are more curious about going and reading the full book. I think it's super, super interesting. So without further ado, let's delve into our topic. Why habits matter in 2026, in every year, but especially in this year? Because we know already, right, that careers change all the time. Careers are very, very flexible. We are in a moment where careers are not no longer linear or stable. We have, of course, AI, so many things happening, right? But one thing that employers keep on valuing and really paying attention is how we collaborators add value, how reliable we are, how consistent we are. And for us to build this kind of attitudes, right, we need to be doing something. What is the hidden trap here? Is that most of the things we do every day, we do them by habit. A habit is something that we are not all the time consciously reflecting. It's something we do automatically. So even if you don't realize, many, many things that we do every day are, let's say, automatically. done, right? And sometimes, if we haven't, let's say, programmed these habits in a good way, then we may be making some kind of decisions or making some actions that are not really aligned with what we want. Why? Because we're just not thinking them or doing them. Does this make sense to you, what I'm mentioning? Let me share let me know your thoughts in the chat. And what is this book about? The name of the book is Atomic Habits, right? James Clear is the author, and depending on where you are, this book may be translated in different ways. Actually, in German, I think they call it the 1% method. And depending where you are and what language you speak, you may find this book translated with different titles. And what this title reflects is atomic, something related to atoms. We know they are very, very small, right? And they're like the particle that create basically everything. And it's also called the 1% method because what the author is going to propose is like, we really need to make sure that everyday tiny actions we are taking, they are aligned with what we want to achieve, right? And we don't necessarily need big changes, big actions, or radical approach to make progress. And this is the main central thesis of the book. And now we're going to explore what he shares about habits, how we can build sustainable habits, and how with this information we can make sure that we're moving with the right system towards making this 2026 intentional, right? This is, I think, when I was thinking of this webinar, I thought this could be nice because we're just starting the year. And one thing that we humans tend to do is like we make lots of big New Year's resolution, and then it's already in February and we already gave up on all of them. Do you relate to that feeling? So it is really important that we set the tone. I think January is a beautiful month to do this, and the better to say, okay, how do I do this? And what he proposes is small changes, right? We have two persons, person A and person B. And we may think, okay, person A does their job in a regular way. They focus only on the tasks assigned. They wait for the right opportunity to take action. And it's not really thinking of doing a little bit more to move a little bit in a different way, right? And then we have person B. Nothing crazy about this person, but this person does something different, which is maybe they spend 5 minutes a day learning or doing some journaling about their day, their work day. Maybe they start following up after a meeting by sending an email, or they start interacting maybe 5 minutes a day with people on their LinkedIn profile. Long term, sometimes some months later, we can see that person A is still there and person B is more recognized by their peers, is more recognized by their manager, and they win a promotion. What does this mean? Well, we don't need to make great changes for change to happen, but we do need to be consistent. And why habits matter? It's because we need to be making sure that we're paving this way towards the way we want to go, the direction we want to go. But sometimes this is done in a very subtle way, right? And for us to understand how this is done, let's understand a little bit better. So what is a habit, right? Basically, a habit is a behavior that our brain performs automatically. We are not thinking every time. Can you share in the chat some habits you have? Not the ones that are on the slide. Let me just share, let me know one habit you have. One everyday habit is like before going to bed, we brush our teeth, hopefully, right? We all learned, okay, I'm going to bed, so I need to brush my teeth. Some people may take a shower when they wake up. Some people may take a shower before they go to bed. These are all habits, right? These are things that our brain got used to doing automatically. We don't reflect much. And Habits, what do is basically they reduce the thinking and effort, right? Because I'm not thinking when I wake up, making coffee in the morning. Excellent. Thank you, Carrie Ann. That's a great example. Maybe you don't even realize, right? And you already are with your coffee, right? Without thinking, you have your coffee. This is not something you had to prepare and planify and plan, right? Marcela, shower every day before I go to bed. Yes, exactly, right? And you're not thinking all the process that showering takes. Like you just know how this will happen. And habits run on autopilot. That's why they are very powerful. And also they are very dangerous. Because if I have a set of habits that slowly drive me in a direction I don't want or I don't like, then this can be very challenging, right? So habits are very powerful. And this is how we need to understand the possibility of habits. And how do these work? Because to understand how we can create a better career for ourselves, how can we move in the direction we want, we need to understand that we need healthy habits, right? Because imagine all the things you could do if you were really, really making sure that every action or most of the actions you take during your day are in the right directions. So, how does a habit work? So basically, habits have four parts, right? That once we understand how habits work, then we can start playing with them. We can understand, maybe I want to change this habit, I want to create a new habit. Think about all your New Year resolutions and all the things you said you wanted for this year, right? Maybe you can write in the chat one habit that you would like to incorporate this year. And how does a habit work? Well, first of all, we have the cue. The cue is the signal or the trigger that will start the habit, right? For instance, let's imagine that every time that I wake up, I go and I check my phone. Do you relate to this habit? You are basically just waking up. Maybe you haven't even opened your eyes and you already extended your arm and grabbed your phone. If you relate to me, type yes, because many of us do this. And so how does this work? Well, basically, I have this habit, right? I wake up and then that is my trigger. That's where the trigger is where the habit starts. This is a process. So I just wake up and my brain had used to doing this. So I wake up and I extend my hand. Why? Why do I do this? Because there's a craving. There's something I wanna fulfill. A habit is always fulfilling a need. This is very important for you to know. There's something you want to do. There's a need, precisely a crave, right, that you want to satisfy. And what is a crave in this case? What is a motivation for me to extend my arm and grab my phone? Well, it's going to be the dopamine, the stimulation that having an endless feed is going to provide, right? So I have this need to communication. My brain asks, oh, we need dopamine. Wake up, let's find out what happened in the world. So this craving, right, takes me to take action. The action is going to be precisely start scrolling on Instagram, start checking my WhatsApp to see who sent me a message. And then each action will have a reward, right? A payoff. And in this case, my reward is that, oh, I feel this dopamine rush, right? I feel now, okay, I can relax because I know everything is there, whatever, right? So this is a full circle. And how does the brain create a habit? By reinforcement. This is, for a habit, we don't really need motivation. Maybe at the beginning we need to work a little bit, but once the habit is installed, it runs on autopilot, right? I don't need to wake up and say to my brain, now we're going to extend the arm and grab the phone. I do it automatically. That's why it can be very dangerous if I'm doing something I'm not even aware of, or it can be super powerful if I consciously make sure this habit goes into the right direction. And that's why we say that habits can be positive or negative depending on our goals, right? Depending on whatever I want to achieve. So let's imagine this work situation and let me know if you relate to this. So let's say you need to work and start doing some difficult, challenging task, right? Usually the procrastination also loop works in a similar direction. In this case, the habit works, okay, let's see this functional habit, right? I see a difficult task, right? And my brain goes, oh, no, we have this difficult task. My brain goes like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. You relate to this? My brain many times doesn't want to do difficult tasks. So what does my brain want? It says, oh, I don't want to feel bad. So let's avoid this discomfort. So instead of going to work, what am I going to do is like I will start by doing simple tasks, right? I know I have to work on a very long spreadsheet and some things, but then I said, oh no, okay, maybe I should just check my emails, right? And then I feel a short-term relief. But in terms of what I needed to do, this habit wasn't very functional, right? Because I didn't get what I wanted to do. And how can we do to make sure that this functional habit can be more functional? So in this case, I have this same cue, which is like, okay, I see this document, I see this difficult task, so I know I need to start to work, right? So I open my computer, I open the document, and I start working. And of course, I don't want to feel bad by working, but instead of resorting to a behavior I always do, to the habit of doing something else instead of what I need to do, now I can do a compromise and said, okay, what if I change a little bit the action, right? Instead of saying, oh, um, I need to finish this now, I can say and negotiate a little bit with my brain and say, okay, we're going to work for 5 minutes and 10 minutes. My goal is to open the document, open this difficult task, and then work 10 minutes on it. And once I finish, then I can go for coffee, and then I can come back, sit again, and continue. We need to train ourselves for habits, because remember, the key thing is that the more we do a habit, the more we get used to this. So we need to make sure that even if when we have dysfunctional habits, we can tweak them a little bit to start seeing them in a better perspective. Does this make sense for you guys? Because I think it's difficult to break habits. Like getting rid of a full habit, it's really difficult. But if we start changing and actioning a little bit the cues we already have, let's say when the habit already is triggered, instead of following the usual path, which is, our brain is used to going to the path of least resistance, which is that thing we have always done, the brain has got used to doing. And it will continue unless we say, not this direction, this other direction. That's why developing habits at the beginning is challenging, because we need to train our brain to say, not this direction, let's go this direction. But once we have done this, then that's when we have created a new path, and then it starts being easier. And one super important aspect we need to make sure that we are doing when we want to create healthy habits, it's paying attention to our environment. Why? Do we have anyone here interested in behavioral science? This is a very interesting topic. Our chances to be successful in whatever we want to be is going to depend a lot on our environment. Does that make sense? Right? If I want to cross the street and then the street is blocked, then probably it's going to be challenging for me to cross the street. And with everything we do in our life, we need to make sure that the environment where we are existing is cooperating rather than being an obstacle, right? And for habits, it works the same thing. We need to make sure that we are creating the environment we want, so the habit has more chances of happening, right? And how does this work, basically? Well, if I want to create environment that allows me for me to be productive. Let's say I struggle being productive. I don't know about you guys, but me, I struggle a lot to be productive and not get myself distracted by everything and anything. So one thing we want to avoid is having high friction. High friction means we need to the usual challenge of sitting open, concentrating, working, being productive, we need to compete with all these things from the outside. That is creating friction in our environment. And this is also taking up our energy, our concentration. Does this make sense? Do you relate to this? So if you are trying to concentrate in an environment where the phone is always ringing, everything is shaking, you're in the middle of, I don't know, a manifestation in your job and outside people are protesting, like chances are this is going to be more challenging than if I create the environment correctly for that. And what this means is you need to know yourself, right? If you know that your brain will look for any excuse not to do anything, something like, let's say, oh, I need to I had some great ideas for this project I have, but I wrote them in my notebook, and my notebook is in the other room. So I said, okay, well, in 5 minutes I will go look for it, right? But then I start opening Windows tabs, and then 5 minutes later I forgot about this. What I need to do is like, okay, I need to have my elements, anything I need to work needs to be already here. If I start working and then I need to wake up and find that, and then I need to wake up and stand up and get up and move, and that's gonna help us. No, that's not gonna be working. So you need to make sure that the environment is there to help you. What this means, if you decided that every day you wanna do 5 minute yoga before starting your day work, then make sure that your yoga mat is on the floor, right? That the yoga mat is visible, that you don't have to go find the yoga mat that you left somewhere else, and then that's a perfect excuse that in the way you lost something. You follow me? You need to make sure that your environment is perfect for this. The author shares a very simple example. He was sharing a study about people who wanted to start eating more healthily, and people who wanted to drink more water. What this experiment, those who designed this experiment, these were people, let's say, working at a company. Basically, at the cafeteria the company, they put all the water bottles next to the cashier. So people, when they went there, they said, easy, and I will take also this water, right? If they had to have the idea in their minds, oh, I need to drink more and look for water, where is it? Like, probably they would have lost very critical minutes, but now they had the water nearby and they bought it. As simple as that. If you have your water, you will drink it, right? So make sure that every setting you're in is there for you to support this growth. Does this make sense? And why most people fail to build habit? This is very important for us to understand. Well, most habits are, many habits may be too vague, right? Because you said, oh, or habits or goals in general, right? I may say, oh, I want to improve my career. That's very loose, that's very general. What does that mean, right? Or we need to work on being more precise on what we want. Sometimes we are too ambitious, right? Oh no, tomorrow I will become a marathonist. Although I've never run 1 kilometer in my life, tomorrow I will become the fastest marathonist. That doesn't sound very reasonable, right? Many people also, what they do is like, oh, I need to wait until I'm ready so I can start working on this habit. Which one do you relate to? take a look at the slides and tell me which common mistake you relate the most to. Also, maybe you are like me and you think that you need to know everything before starting. I tend to be a perfectionist. So I think like, oh, no, I first need to know this so I can do it, right? Or there's something missing that will probably get in the way of us taking action. And how do we do to create good habits? Well, what we need to do first of all is, as we said, have a clear trigger, right? Make it very easy for me. If I want to start running, then when I wake up, my goal is to start running. Then I need to have my shoes already there, my running clothes is already there waiting for me just to um, put this on, these clothes on and start walking towards my running. Okay, so we need to make the trigger very, very obvious. If I want to drink more water, then water needs to be easy for me to reach. I need to create, right, the environment for it by, as we mentioned, reducing friction, right? This can also mean, okay, if I know I tend to miss some meetings, then I create it. So what happens is when we really want to make sure that we are in the right track, we need to pay attention to what kind of structure we're putting in place to make our habits successful. And one key thing that this is going to be the main thing I want to remember from our session, and it is as follows. How do we make sure that habits really stick to us, right? We all have been trying to develop habits, and we've seen some reasons why this hasn't worked so much. The key thing, and this is one of the most important messages that the author is going to mention, is how, in order for us to develop our identity, to make sure that we are developing lasting habits, we need to make sure that this becomes our identity. What does this mean? Well, goals, we all have goals. The problem with goals is that when we are focused on following and achieving a goal, what happens if in the way we don't achieve this goal? We feel a lot of frustration, right? And that's why when we only focus on outcomes, then we are in a problematic situation, right? What we need to do is really understand that the level where we need to work is not on the level of the results, but on the level of the identity. And what does this mean? Let's understand. When I have a goal, I know that there's something I want to achieve, right? There's a north, somewhere I want to get. For instance, I want to lose weight, I want to finish a diploma, I need to earn my commission, I need to reach some sales target. That's what I want to get. How I get there is by the doing, right? And the doing is precisely the habits and the systems that we need to follow. And the winners and the losers, we all have the same goals, right? The difference is in the habits, right? In the system. And how do we make to really, really make lasting change? This is by making this part of our identity. When we talk about identity comes from Latin, and it means the same. It means that thing that we do all the time. And basically, what we need to do is understand that we need to work on the level of the beliefs and the thoughts that will make me get to that place? Let me see if you follow. Let's imagine, right? Let's imagine I want to say, I want to run a 10 kilometers race, right? But then I need to rephrase this because if I only go on the level of the goal, I want to run 10 kilometers, that's on the doing. Rather, I would say, what the first question I will ask myself is, what kind of person of or professional I want to become, right? Who is the kind of person that can get the result I want? So in this case, I say, I want to become a runner, right? Instead of saying, oh, I want to run a 10 kilometer, the transformation is, I want to become a runner. Do you see the difference between a goal is, I want to run 10 kilometers? Another one, when we're talking about habits, is, I want to become a runner. Because what could a runner do? And once I think like this person, like the identity of the person who is capable of achieving this goal, that's when the process will happen. Do you follow? So how does this mean? You can see, for instance, if I'm focused on the goal, it's going to be, I want to speak at least once in every team meeting this quarter. This is the goal, right? But if I rephrase it and I said, I want to become a confident and engaged professional. What could a confident and professional and engaged professional do? And then I get the tiny actions that I need to do, and then I can find my specific habits, right? So I can say, well, so I'm going in my small habit will be every time that I'm in a meeting, I will just make sure that I engage in the conversation and that I make a comment, right? That's my tiny habit that reinforce the identity of being a confident and engaged professional. Do you see the change? This is very, very important because the identity-based habit that will allow us to move towards the way in the direction we want is about making a tiny action that leads us to success, that then will make, for me, will say, okay, nice, I spoke in this meeting today. I make sure everyone heard my thoughts. So now what I will do, now my identity is shifting, right? I'm becoming this confident and engaged professional. Same, for instance, if I say, okay, I want to learn 10 minutes a day. That's the goal. But the underlying identity is I am a continuous learner, right? Do you see the difference? So every day that I sit and spend 10 minutes learning, my identity of I am a continuous learner is reinforced. And once the identity settles in, then it becomes a habit, right? Because once you become that, then you start doing it. Do you see how it works? This is very, very interesting, and this is how we can make sure that lasting habits happen. That is sound reasonable? What do you think? And let's say we want to incorporate a new habit. This is what we call habit stacking. We're going to stack one habit on top of the other, right? And that means, let's say, my current habit is at 1 p.m., I put the alarm. When the alarm sounds, I know that I will have lunch. And as I designed my setting in advance, that means that I already prepared, maybe during the weekend, I prepared my food, I put everything in the fridge, or maybe when I left home, I already had my lunch, or even if I'm home, I already know what I will eat, right? So it's very important for me to have already prepared what I will eat because it saves me time, it saves me mental energy, and then I can just go straight forward to um, the habit. So that's my third habit. 1 p.m. alarm rings. I go and have lunch. The cue, the craving, the review, the action, and the reward. That's one habit I already have. Now I want to stack another habit on that, which is like once I finish lunch, I left my plate, I sat back, I will start another habit, which is like now I will start every day 5 minutes of checking my LinkedIn profile and making sure that I follow, comment, reply, connect with someone new. So I already have my main habit, which is I have lunch, and when that lunch is finished, it's a moment where my new habit starts. Do you see how it works? So basically, we stack habits, one after the other. And so, guys, now we are approaching to the last part of our webinar, and this is where I really want you to reflect a little bit, because I want you to take something out of this webinar. So it will be very nice for me to know that you have decided to start working on a new habit. So let's think one habit that you would like to start developing this year. What could that be? Let's reflect together. So how are we going to define and create a new habit? Well, first of all, we need to define the identity we want to develop, right? Let's say I want to be a proactive professional. I want to be a reliable collaborator. I want to be a professional that is seen by other colleagues. I want to be a continuous learner, or I want to be punctual, right? Does any of you relate to the fact maybe that they're not so punctual, right? So let's think, what could be one identity that you would like to develop this year, right? So we need to choose one identity and then think, what is one thing that this type of professional would do every day, right? If I am a punctual professional, what is one thing that I will do every day? What do you think? What does someone who is punctual do? What what is someone who's punctual does? What can you tell me? Gets good leaps and sets alarm. Amazing. Exactly. Right? Someone who is a punctual professional probably could review their calendar the day before, right? So they know, okay, let me get ready for tomorrow. So I will, I will prepare, right? I will check my calendar the night before and make sure that I know what my commitments are. So I plan, make a list of tasks. Excellent, right? That's what a punctual professional would do to ensure that they are punctual, right? And then we need to define the action, right? So let's think together. And I want you to share your habit, your identity habit. Let's share in the chat. So the structure is, in 2026, I am the kind of professional who, pam, 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 then complete with that thing you want to achieve for you this year. Is it maybe being a punctual professional? Is it being a good communicator? Is it being a reliable collaborator? What is it? And then you're going to create this action. Let's think something very small, right? That is very easy. So then you say, we can think like in this example, in 2026, I am the kind of professional who actively manages their career. That's a kind of identity I want to develop. And then the habit will be, after I open my laptop in the morning, I open it, I interact once on LinkedIn. Okay, so we have someone who says, I want to, how can we have this structure? I want to come out of my comfort zone and start taking calculated risks by being open to new things. That's focus on the doing. How can we focus this on the identity? We need to think, what kind of person does this? So we can say, I want to become a person, right, or a professional that comes out of their comfort zone and start taking calculated risks. Okay? And then we can think, okay, what is something that a confident professional, a confident person who takes calculated risks does? What is something? To be productive. Uh-huh. And if we go to more concrete things, maybe we can say, okay, so in order to start working on this habit, every day I will make sure to do something that scares me a little bit. Or every day I will make sure to change something out of my routine, right? Does that make sense? So maybe you can say, okay, in order for me to be someone who comes out of the comfort zone, I need to start making little experiments to my day, right? Where I do things I wouldn't normally do. So maybe my day, my habit can be something as small as every day when I go to work, I will make sure to interact with someone I don't know. What does that mean? Well, maybe I go to the same place to buy my candy, my snack, and I've never spoken to this person, to the person who sells me this, right? And I can say, well, every day in this route from my house to work, or in my post from work, if I leave, I work from home, I will make sure to speak to someone I don't know. Does that make sense? So I start developing this habit of not being afraid, because sometimes we think being crazy and doing wow, going out of our comfort zone means doing disruptive things, but fear starts by doing something small. So maybe I can make sure to start doing something small that reinforce the identity that I am someone who can go out from my comfort zone. Does that make sense? Do you see how the logic goes? So if you want to say, I want to become a productive professional, what kind of habit can I develop? Or if I want to be a good communicator, what is a habit that I can start doing? Well, I can make a very concrete habit. If, in order for me to become a good communicator, I will make sure that every time I am in a meeting, I will follow back and share what I understood, right? One good habit of a good communicator is to make sure that we understood correctly. So my new habit will be, in every meeting I have with a colleague or with my supervisor, or every moment I am making sure I understand and take action, I will ask. So what I really want you to remember, guys, is that for us to create sustainable habits, what we need to do is work on the identity level. And my invitation for you then is to really, really start working on your identity level, right? First of all, start working on your environment. Make it really easy for you to start doing this habit, okay? The environment will set you in the right place. Then remember, habits shape who you are. So if you work on the identity level, if you start thinking, I am the kind of professional that blah, 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 and you think, someone who's like this, how would they act? And then you start implementing the strategies and the right actions, always focusing on the identity side, right? The more you work, the more tiny actions you do towards this identity, the easier will be for you to become this person you want to be and to create the systems that will allow you to reach your goals. Does that make sense, guys? For me, I think this is one of the most important takes away from this webinar, which is basically we need to think what kind of professional I want to be. I want to be more dedicated. I want to be a good communicator. And then we need to think, what could a good communicator do? And guys, we can now use AI to brainstorm this and then to really come up with an action plan that we can follow every day, right? And then we design a strategy with the right environment, with the right cue, the right moment, and then we follow the plan to make sure that we become this person we want to be with the right habits and the right system. So I hope you are taking something very valuable from us, and you can add me to LinkedIn. Find me. My name is Mirta Aguirre. You will type Mirta Aguirre virtual internships, and then you will find me. I hope I get a message from you telling me how you found the webinar, and then we can stay connected. And I'm really sorry, guys, about the technical problems. This has never happened. There's a first time for every thing. So I will later on share the presentation, and we will do a recap on our Learn World. So you can, if you want to watch everything more calmly, you can do it. So thank you very much, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day and see you next time.